Awesome. It's great to see so many faces here today. Thank you so much for joining the Polygon Discord for another AMA. Today we are speaking with a really exciting top tier project by the name of DIMO, and we have, I believe, two people here with us today from their core contributors. So, or I guess core contributors to the DIMO team. Or perhaps you can elaborate a bit more about what your roles are. Um, Anyways, yeah, really
Sure.
happy to have you guys here today. How's it going?
It's good. I just got a DM from Andy. He needs permission to speak, and then we'll get him chiming in as well. Um, but I'm Alex Rawitz. I'm one of the co-founders of DIMO, and I'm the COO of Digital Infrastructure Inc., which is one of the core companies building DIMO. We started DIMO in its current form about a year ago, a little bit more than that at this point, and we're building a decentralized connectivity and data platform for vehicles. The goal is to enable eventually next generation mobility applications and experiences on any car in the world. And one analogy I often give for folks that are more familiar with the DeFi side of crypto is if you think about the financial sector and all of the fragmentation that exists in that industry and banks and payment processors and exchanges, DeFi comes along and shows how you can have user-owned protocols, permissionless interactivity, and really everything settling on one layer. And we're trying to do the same in the mobility world. In the mobility world, you have OEMs that make vehicles, insurance companies, dealerships, automotive conglomerates. There's no interoperability of data. There's no way for a user to take their own data and their own connectivity and interact with other companies. I can't take my Toyota and install Ford software on it. And well, that's an example that's maybe a bit extreme. There's lots of different ways that creating a user-owned and more open mobility platform is going to benefit people with cars and eventually other devices too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. We're bringing all this decentralization to the internet. We might as well bring it to the real world too. And I think cars are a great place to start, or the automobile industry in general. By the way, Andy, you might have to leave and rejoin the voice channel. I have granted you permission. So, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to just drop them in the text channel. Andy, I'd love it if you could introduce yourself to the Polygon community. Let us know a bit about who you are, like what's your backstory, what got you into crypto, and ultimately involved with working on DIMO.
Cool. Yeah, y'all can hear me now, right?
Yep.
Sir.
I've spent about 10 years in the mobility space. I started my career building electric vehicle infrastructure and shared mobility technology back in 2012. And then I spent about 8 years working for a company called Transdev and built a business within this much larger company focused on their core business was public transit operations. But I spent about 4 years building an autonomous vehicle services division. Our largest client was Waymo, the Google self-driving car project. So I got to see the bleeding edge of connected vehicle technology, autonomous vehicle technology, and also electric vehicles. And I connected with Yev, who's one of the other co-founders of DIMO, about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when he was working in the automotive industry. And he is really kind of the mastermind behind the DIMO platform from a technology standpoint, and has built connected vehicle systems for some of the largest automakers out there: GM, Ford, Volkswagen, a few others, and also has worked in the AV space. And we're really kind of pulling this thread that is attached to this core problem of vehicle identity and IoT device identity as a whole. And we think there's a lot of problems that can be solved with blockchains by assigning unique vehicle identities and having a consistent way to collect data from IoT devices. And that's a fairly technical explanation. And really what it looks like is, for users today, we've built an app that allows you to connect any make or model of vehicle to a single application. And that allows you to build cool apps and services on top of it, better usage-based insurance, better integrations with the electric grid, better mobility-focused games, maintenance applications. I'd like to give a quick demo if I can. Let's see if I can pull up the. here's our app as it exists today. I'm running it on my computer, so some things might be a little bit weird. And for those of you that haven't connected a car, one of the cool things about DIMO is that you can use it with Ford. This is my Mustang Mach-E here. We collect all of the data that we can from the car and store it down for you as the user. We also provide you with a digital glove box so you can store your documents and build up that identity of your vehicle. And then, of course, we want to take that information that you're getting about, the odometer of your vehicle, its location, and then turn it into information for you. So one of the ways we do that is we tell you what your vehicle's worth. And then we can also go out and get you offers in the marketplace for it. And there's a bunch of other apps and services that are starting to be built on the platform. They're more like integrations today, but our sort of vision for this is we want to turn the vehicle into a more liquid asset and help you get better prices for goods and services based on the data that you're collecting. And there's a whole bunch of different ways that can happen, which I'm sure we'll get into today. But DIMO as it exists is really one of the only apps you can use to connect, a Tesla, a Ford, a GM vehicle. This is my Toyota, which we're still in the process of really adding support for, but I'm already getting more and more data from it here. And you can see my battery died earlier this week. That's the DIMO app as it exists today. There's a bunch of other pieces of the platform that are going to fill in around it, but that's kind of the quick high-level overview.
Saw some questions.
Yeah, that's incredible. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No worries. Yeah, I saw some questions coming in, just asking, I think, about compatibility, like any maker model that utilizes OBD2. We actually have 3 different integration methods into DIMO today. So 3 different ways that you can connect your car. The simplest is Tesla. If anyone here has a Tesla, there's a direct connection with the Tesla API. You just log in with your regular Tesla credentials, and there's a bunch of other apps that utilize this service. You might be familiar with Tesla app and some others, but you can use your Tesla credentials, log in, and start sharing your Tesla data. Other modern cars, depending, last 3 years, maybe last 5 years, depending on the automaker, might have an app. So, the Ford Pass app works great. The Toyota app can be a little bit, depends on what kind of connected service you have. Some of those modern cars can connect to DIMO with software only. It's not the greatest software connection, but it does work, and many people are signing up through that. And then the last is the hardware itself. The hardware is going to be the most robust way to get connected. You're going to see the most data through the hardware. You're going to have this redundant connection, so you don't have to rely on your OEM's app anymore. And if you don't have an app with your car, if you have a car that's maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years old, you can actually use the hardware to track where your car is and see all this data. And it sort of gives you a new tool that you've never had before.
Okay, so just for further clarification on that, if you have an electric car or more modern electric car, you're probably good to go with DIMO. But if you have an older car, you need to purchase some hardware in order to use DIMO.
Yeah. And there are benefits to the hardware outside of, so you can kind of think of it like a custodial wallet versus a hardware wallet. And if you're using the app that comes with your car, you're still getting the data from your automaker's server. So the data comes off your car, goes to their server, and then you ask their server for it. Versus with the hardware device, you're getting the data directly from your car. So you don't need to have the OEM connection active in order to have an app for your car that shows you where it is and what its oil life is and lots of other data about it. So the hardware device is, adds universal support for every vehicle and allows you to take, full custody, at least as full as possible, over the data from your car, and you don't have to have any other internet connections associated with it if you don't want.
Right now, I saw another question relevant to this compatibility. Right now, we have a year cutoff at 2012, so cars from the year 2012 and newer will work with DIMO, are supported. That's a fairly arbitrary year at this point. We are in the process now of adding older vehicles and doing some testing with those vehicles. So somebody wrote in asking about a 2010 Ford. The reality is there's probably not that much of a difference between that 2010 and the 2012 model. And we're sort of just going through the steps of validating model by model which ones can we also support going back a little bit? So I would expect that over the next couple of months, we're going to start to validate that in a little bit more detail. And one of our big goals is to actually really extend back the year support, because so many folks with older vehicles are interested in what having a connected vehicle experience would be like. Let's make 99 the cutoff, I see. Yeah, I believe the OBD2 standard came around in 96. But at the same time, those cars had less sophisticated ECUs and fewer sensors. So it's really tough to say, every year you go back, you're running the risk that there's just a whole lot of interesting data or useful data on that car.
Fantastic. So, once you get DIMO all set up, I guess, could you highlight everything a user can do with DIMO? Like, why would why would someone want to use DIMO? Like, what's the sales pitch there?
It starts with your data, of course. Just connecting, you're going to see some basic stats about your car. For most people, these are going to be data points that you don't get from you might not have an app at all, or you're not getting them from your car maker's app. And that can inform you about the health of your car or your habits, things like that. But where things get really interesting is when you can actually take DIMO and connect to other applications. So some of those applications and ecosystem partners have already started serving DIMO customers today. We actually just announced a new one yesterday. The partner is called LeaseEnd. I was one of the first users of it myself. I took some of my glove box documents, my lease, a bunch of information about my vehicle, its history, pass those over to LeaseEnd, and they're actually helping me break my lease, refinance my car, and in the long run, it's going to end up saving me thousands of dollars. We also have an application built on DIMO called Vehicle Genius, which helps, again, just translate some of your vehicle data into insights for you, because it's great if you know what to do with battery data and things like that. But if you're a relatively unsophisticated vehicle owner, you might want somebody else who can help you do that. What we envision long-term is the ability, the same way many users here are probably familiar with connecting their MetaMask to go trade on a DEX or something like that. You'll be able to hit connect with DIMO on a automotive marketplace and list your car for sale, or take out a new loan from a DeFi application connecting with DIMO at this tokenized, so to speak, real world asset. So the pitch is that you're going to have access to all these services built on top of DIMO, which can reduce a ton of the costs and friction in the automotive industry and give you access to all kinds of new applications.
Yeah, one of the ways that we think about DIMO as a whole is kind of like, if you're in the US, you're probably familiar with AAA or automotive club out there, and there's kind of a version of this in every country. And we think of it as more like a data-driven, digitally enabled version of a car club. So if you join DIMO and you provide data to the network, you earn some of the token, and then that also gives you access to all these other goods and services that can help you save money on your car or just have a better time as a car owner. And the resources that the platform generates, are invested in making sure that new features are added, support for new vehicles are added, and more features can be delivered to users in the future. So we think it's really a much more healthy way to build a developer platform, and something that has a huge roadmap of stuff ahead of it as far as integrations and value that we can deliver to users.
I see someone commenting here about Nori, a carbon removal marketplace. Seems I haven't heard of it before. Taking a look at the website seems interesting. I actually have had a couple of calls with folks in the interested in carbon renewal, and that's another great example. So you could, in theory, look at the consumption of a vehicle and automatically through smart contracts say, hey, purchase this number of carbon offsets, and maybe a good Samaritan and individuals interested in doing something like that based on the electricity they're using or the gas they're using. But it could also be a really compelling feature for fleets and enterprises that want to meet ESG goals and say, hey, we're decarbonizing our fleet. We plug in DIMO, tracks the consumption, automatically purchases carbon credits all through smart contracts. And I see somebody talking about or asking a question. Any thoughts regarding Stellantis's new data as a service business unit? Seems similar to DIMO. This is a really interesting question.
Yeah, I looked at that last week. We saw some of the announcements around that at CES, and there are a couple of other companies that were created by OEMs to try to execute on a similar vision. They haven't been doing terribly well in the marketplace, and one of the reasons why is that they don't really own the data coming from cars. And if you think about it as a Stellantis customer, you buy a vehicle, say a new Jeep, and they ask you if you'd like to use the app for that Jeep. They give you a free subscription, and part of the terms of service of using that application are that your data gets to be monetized in whatever way they want. And in this case, it seems like they're trying a little bit more aggressively to directly monetize it. It's not a terribly new idea, and it's also something that we look at and say this isn't a great deal for the user because their data could wind up in a place where they don't necessarily expect it to, and also they're not being compensated for it other than just being given access to an app, which probably should come with the car anyways. So automakers have been trying to do this for a number of years, and now they're kind of trying a slightly different approach. And our take is if you buy the car, you own the data that's coming from the car as well, and really that's just predicated by your ability to collect it. And so that's the tool that we're building for users. And when we go to bring the data to market, we feel really good about our ability to monetize it because all the users are opting in directly to sharing it, and it's part of the deal with DIMO. And we also know that we won't as a group it's quite different for us to try to monetize the data when primarily the users are stakeholders in the project versus just customers who have already sort of signed away their rights. So there's a pretty fundamental difference to what the automakers are doing and what DIMO's doing, and we think ultimately the smart automakers will get on board with supporting something that's more open because it makes their product better and it helps it integrate into their customers' lives better. Most people don't own vehicles just from one automaker, and most services are not used by people who have just a Ford or GM, and so that's really the biggest way that we see the data being monetized is going out and trying to get better goods and services for users and help them save money directly. And we think that's the most effective way for people to be monetizing their data anyways.
One thing I'm really curious about is, do you have your own token? Why or why not? And like, if so, what's the utility of it?
Yeah, we issued the DIMO Foundation has existed for a little over a month at this point. We did a kind of pre-launch period, a test net of about 11 months leading up to December 15th or so. And then we conducted an airdrop where we started issuing tokens to users that had been connected, that paired a wallet to their account, and had already provided data to the network. And so that's been active for about a month. The token is out there. It's called DIMO. We can post the contract address if anybody's interested. And the utility of the token is something that we're going to be certainly evolving over time. Right now, you need to hold the token in order to produce DIMO compatible hardware devices or integrations on the platform. So that's our way of aligning hardware devices or hardware device manufacturers with end users. You have to lock it up, very similar to Helium. You have to lock it up and burn some tokens in order to create a hardware device on the network and a device identity. And then on the integration side, in order to build an app that shows up as being DIMO compatible, this is something that's going to develop quite a bit more this year as we launch the kind of fully featured developer platform. That also creates demand and burn for the token. And then finally, as we generate fees in the marketplace, so partners like LeaseEnd or Tenet or Caribou generate fees whenever we send them a new user, that actually goes into the treasury of the foundation and can contribute both to token burn and also increased earnings for users. So our goal is really to generate self-sustaining ecosystem where the platform as a whole, the smart contracts are generating fees as new device identities are created, and applications interact with users. Keeping some of the payments on chain allows us to do that. And over time, we're going to be able to add new features, functionality, transferring vehicles from one owner to another, kind of like the DMV, is something that can also generate fees. And that's something that we're working on. And if this, kind of like deep level, tokenomics is interesting to you, there's a lot of people working on it in our Discord, and we have some pretty active governance proposals that are out there right now to kind of, codify it and really define how all these things are going to work and evolve over time.
Another thing, like I'm curious about, and it kind of ties into the token, is just related to how DIMO generates revenue. Do you guys generate revenue? And if so, how does that all work?
Yeah, we do. Today, there are partners that are paying for both access to the DIMO platform in terms of hardware providers. They're pre-buying licenses to create devices, which are actually just NFTs. And so on the hardware device side, that's generating revenue today for the foundation. And then on the marketplace side, we have partners that are showing up, the ones I showed you in the app before, that pay on a per transaction basis. So as users convert, that generates fees, sometimes pretty substantial fees, like $400 for refinancing your car, or sometimes even more in the case of a vehicle sale transaction. And as we start to bring more of those on chain, that revenue is going to start to show up on chain. Today, it's very much in a kind of Web 2 way, but the rewards are being passed back to users in terms of token earnings, and it's generating a pretty nice base for the foundation to build off of in terms of being able to reinvest in the platform.
Yeah, I think it's really phenomenal how you are, really holding on tight to that core Web3 ethos, but also building a project with tons of real world application and utility. I feel like I'm learning so much today. I definitely have to do a lot more research on my own time. I'm very intrigued right now. Yeah. Some I don't know. What are some key partnerships that for you guys like, um, and also why did you choose to build on top of Polygon? Are you leveraging any other blockchains?
I can start on the Polygon question. There was a couple things. Certainly, we've been in crypto for a long time, and most of the founders here have had, and ranging from a soft allegiance to a staunch a staunch preference for Ethereum and the Ethereum ecosystem for a long time. Polygon obviously offers a fantastic way to be in the EVM world, but with cheaper fees. And as we looked out at, think about the factors that you're looking for: adoption, community, traction, and then also scalability. Obviously, there's some really interesting things that you can do with the Polygon SDK. I would say in the long run, it eventually makes sense for DIMO to have its own blockchain. We chose not to start there because we know how challenging that alone is. But given the pathways that Polygon offers and some of the other projects around privacy and ZKs, it makes a ton of sense there. Not to mention that governance tools are already set up, snapshot tally, all that sort of stuff already exists on Polygon. On the partnerships front, we're most focused on what's going to bring immediate value to users who download and use DIMO and get their car connected. We have launched about, I think, 4 partnerships, mostly on the vehicle financing side right now. So Tenant and Caribou are refinancing companies. LeaseEnd helps you break your lease and refinance. We have a partner. I won't announce them yet because it's coming later in January. It's going to be the first maintenance partner on DIMO. So you'll actually be able to book maintenance through DIMO. And in the way that the ecosystem and tokenomics are set up, when you book that maintenance and book a service, you're actually rewarded with some extra DIMO. So the partner we're bringing on has coverage across the country, the US that is. They actually do like we come to you maintenance, so they'll come to your driveway and fix your issue. And we're really excited about that, diversifying the ecosystem there. And then there's about 45 others partners that we've already spoken to, ranging from brand new developers who want to build things like car sharing, and you know, expense sharing for vehicles, to existing companies that are pretty big in the automotive space that are interested in building on top of DIMO. Yeah,
Fantastic.
DIMO Uber.
It's
Somebody
honestly,
talking about that.
yeah, it's very astounding, everything that you're doing. Very, yeah, I'm mind blown right now, to be honest. It's very impressive. So I don't know, how long has DIMO been a thing for? Like, how long have you guys been working on this? And what can we expect from DIMO in 2023? Like, what are the goals for this year?
I'll cover 2023 real quick, and Andy can give some more background on sort of the pathway to the DIMO that you see today. Starting in the near term, one of our big goals is to continue to make it easier to onboard to DIMO. Many of our early adopters have been fantastic about putting up with you know, early adopter headaches and not the smoothest onboarding process. One of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be launching some form of a new in-app wallet. We're looking at some of the kind of cutting edge stuff that's out there around Web3 auth or other tools that allow you to abstract away some of the complexities of linking your MetaMask through Wallet Connect and connecting to DIMO that way, and taking care of some of the on-chain transactions that need to occur to be fully onboarded. So smoothing out the pathway for users to get connected, and then as a level up of that, enabling individuals to sign up others and connect others to DIMO. So, you know, it's great if you're a crypto power user and you can use your wallet to connect to DIMO and mint your car NFT. But if you find value in the DIMO data and the DIMO ecosystem and want to sign up your parents or a friend who's not into crypto, you have to teach them how to use a wallet. And that's not necessarily, you know, the sales pitch that everyone wants to go out and do. And so by the, you know, late first quarter, second quarter of this year, we're going to be in a place where we're enabling more hosts and patrons, what we call it internally, the idea that somebody else could buy some devices, pre-configure them, give it to my dad and say, hey, 30 seconds to install this thing, scan the barcode, you're good to go. We're also really focused, that's number one. Number two is bringing more data to users. I saw somebody comment, you know, their car is still in beta support mode. One of the interesting things about vehicle data is basically every car speaks its own language. And when you think about the diversity of vehicles, there's about 30 automakers that we support. Each automaker has maybe between 5 and 25 different cars that they have every single year. Those cars change. There's about 10,000 unique vehicles in our database. And some we see lots of data on, some we don't see a lot of data on. And we have to actually decode the data from every car. And so we're very focused on adding more data into people's apps so that those who don't see a lot of data right now see more. And then the third and final piece that I'll highlight, there's obviously a lot of other things that we're doing. We're still investing heavily in the app ecosystem. Again, it's great that you can see some data in your car, but the most important thing is to do stuff with the data. Bring it to a partner, get a new loan, figure out what maintenance you need, share it, monetize it, whatever. And so we're continuing to build out the developer platform.
Sweet. All right, I want to address some of the questions coming in from the chat.
Yeah. DIMO specific community meetup this year. We would love to. We don't have anything planned at the moment. We've talked, certainly last year we were talking about putting together a DIMOCon probably towards the end of this year. We did do a New York City event last year where we did some initial installs. I would say that probably by second quarter of this year, we'll have something on the books, or we'll try and do an event, at least in one of our major markets, whether that's, New York or LA, a place where there's a lot of drivers already. And we certainly will have a nice presence at ETH Denver. We'll probably have a handful of the core team there, maybe some demo cars or a demo car. So if you're attending some crypto events, you'll probably see DIMO out there. Utilities available or planned for the DIMO token, or is it just something to trade? We're very focused on building utility for the DIMO token. Andy mentioned some of this earlier. It is a requirement to hold the DIMO token to manufacture DIMO hardware. So our hardware manufacturers today are holding DIMO tokens and using that to mint the NFTs that represent each piece of DIMO hardware. Other hardware manufacturers that are coming on board are doing the same. Obviously, there's a governance role for the token as well. We recently launched the governance, initial governance proposals actually earlier this week. You can check that out in the DIMO documentation. The dips, yeah. I see DIMO vision for next 3 years. Wow, that's a big one. Andy, you want to take a DIMO vision for the next 3 years?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I'd love to hear how you envision like the future of DIMO, like within Web3 and the world in general. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I think the next year is, if you had to write the next year as one sentence, it would be more ways for people to connect, more simpler ways for people to connect, and more things for them to do once they're connected. And then in the years after that, it's really going to be about more deeply integrating DIMO into the fabric of everything that you interact with. And so, DIMO is an acronym. It stands for Digital Infrastructure for Moving Objects. And so we're not just about connecting cars and building a connected car platform. It's really about anything that moves around in the world. And so that'll give you a pretty good indication of maybe some of the other things we have in store. We also are quite interested in starting to link the connected devices together. So enabling things like vehicle-to-vehicle communication, enabling better integration between the electric grid and the cars that are connected, or other ways that the vehicles are refueling. And so you'll start to see a lot more interesting apps and services develop on the platform as we get more devices on board. And then a big thing that is very clear to some people when they find out about DIMO is that it's not currently live anywhere in the world yet. And so we have some great partners that have approached us about wanting to launch DIMO in India, or in South America, or in Southeast Asia, in some specific countries, and certainly Japan and Korea are large car markets as well. And so that's going to be a big part of the story. It's not something that we're going to rush into, but with what we've built at this point, it's relatively easy to get the community to approve the token allocation for launching a new country, and have some apps and services set up, and then turn on the app and ship some hardware there. And so making this a really sort of global phenomenon is a big deal as well. And then the last kind of like moonshot thing that I'll talk about is integrating DIMO more deeply into vehicles right when they come off the production line. So a lot of automakers today are going through this kind of like reimagination of what a car means from a software perspective, and they're going to look a lot more software defined. And there's a bunch of buzzwords out there in the automotive industry, like the software defined vehicle, or the car as a data center. And in that world, DIMO is something that could be integrated much more deeply into the car, and would allow the owner of the vehicle to have a much greater access to and control of the data from that vehicle and the functionality it provides. And so there's a chance in the future DIMO ends up working directly with automakers, and that's something that we're not doing today, and it's very much a choice. Everything we've built up to this point, we've been able to build without needing to go to Detroit, or needing to go sit down in the Tesla office and in the future, I think will be much more directly engaging with automakers, and I've already had some interesting conversations as they've started to reach out and try to wrap their heads around what we're doing and how it can fit with their future plans for vehicles.
I see a couple of other questions here in the
Yeah,
chat.
how are you
Go
guys
for it.
planning to make money out of it? The So we went over the marketplace rewards aspect of DIMO, and today a lot of the partners that are integrated in the platform are paying um, pretty basic, simple referral fees for people that can go and convert on their service. So if somebody goes and refinances through Tenant, or does what Alex is doing and ends his lease through LeaseEnd, or signs up for a Vehicle Genius subscription, or buys a Wi-Fi subscription for their hardware device, all that generates fees for the network and token burn, and also contributes to rewards going back to users. So we look at that really as kind of like an airline reward point for your car, and that's something that is cool on DIMO because it exists across any vehicle. It's accessible to anybody, and then of course the second question in there is kind of related. Is there a plan to provide researchers with data from DIMO, and how do we plan to provide it? We actually have a researcher who's internal to the DIMO team today. He's a data scientist that came from Ford, and he's been producing some reports. You can see two of them that have been published today. They're on our site. If you search for DIMO Insights, you'll probably find them, and maybe we can drop the link in here in the chat. And he's starting to use very high level aggregated data from DIMO, and as we complete the transition over to mainnet, that's something that we're going to start to monetize more directly. And then one of the biggest, most exciting things I think we can end up doing with the data from the platform is really just like enabling applications that couldn't exist today. So you can start to see some examples of that as we're delivering. We're taking the data that people have and turning it into information. So like you get the value of your car, and also you can see where you might want to sell it, and somebody can come and build an application that looks like Uniswap for cars on top of DIMO, or a better insurance marketplace. I think we're going to have some exciting announcements in the insurance world in the coming weeks. But we have a ton of stuff out there today that's both starting to generate the demand side is what we think about quite a bit, and the name of the game in terms of attracting more attention and interest there is people adding their cars to the platform and continuing to grow it, and having more hardware options at lower prices. And so that's really what the core team is focused on over the next couple of weeks. And if you're listening to this and you haven't added your car, then you got to go out and do that.
Fantastic. I really appreciate having you both here to share so much information with the Polygon community, providing such a elaborate overview of how everything works, plans for the future, lots of alpha information. It's great. Really loving this.
Yeah.
One question, Flux Jackie, they were wondering, are there any plans to enable DIMO staking of sorts to encourage hodling of the token? I feel like you've already addressed I don't know, the token a lot, but maybe if you want,
I'm mostly interested in vote, like personally, and this is no longer. I mean, we have the foundation launch, so it's not really up to me or Alex what happens in this regard. My personal preference is for something along the lines of like a vote escrow, sort of like what Helium is doing. A lot of other projects, I think Curve kind of launched that initially, and I really like the idea of people being able to prove that they care about the long term success and viability of the project by locking up their token. And I think that should afford them, in some cases, greater voting power. But that's not implemented in DIMO today, and it's not something that has even been formally proposed. It's just sort of my take on the matter right now. Today, we have a pretty simple one token, one vote structure, and staking is really only brought into the mix when it comes to building an app or a service on the platform. So if you want to create a DIMO compatible device, you have to acquire some of the token and lock it up, and also that's required for not just getting the license but creating individual devices. So in that way, we are aligning hardware manufacturers with the DIMO community, and we think that's quite important. Like they're all essentially holding the same asset, and the same goes for services like Vehicle Genius that get to market themselves in front of DIMO users, and that's a great way to generate demand for the token and also make sure that providers and users are aligned.
Yeah, that's great to hear that in regards to like the tokenomic structure, there's a lot of incentives for big brands and individuals to hold on and, reasons to purchase the demo token. So that's really healthy. And yeah, it's cool to think that, there could one day be a proposal to adopt the voting escrow tokenomics model. Um, and yeah, that's really cool that you guys have a DAO, a governance model where people can pass proposals. Um, One thing I'm curious about: what are the best ways for people to get involved with Demo today, right now?
Yeah, we have a pretty active community on Discord. You can go to chat.demo.zone, and of course, adding your car is kind of the first step. If you don't have a car, there's a lot of other ways you can get involved and follow along with the community. And um, we're looking for more developers to build apps on the platform. It's likely that we'll end up having a grant program or some way to more actively support people that are building on the platform. Right now, it's kind of on a more informal basis. People show up and say, "Hey, here's what I'm building already. I want to plug it into Demo," and we end up helping them. Um, and then, yeah, I think Alex is also working on an updated referral program. And if you have a YouTube channel or some existing following or way to market the service, we can create a custom code for people that allows users to get a discount on the hardware device. And yeah, those are kind of the main ways and main priorities we have. We really want to. We're getting close to the point where we've worked through about a year of supply chain delays, and we have a ton of device supply coming online, and we'll be able to ship those to people like at nearly Amazon-esque speeds in a couple weeks here. So yeah, the biggest thing is get out there and help us sell some devices, connect some more cars.
Yeah, Andy touched on, the connecting cars as being kind of the biggest focus and growing the network. I just dropped in. We're still kind of honoring the mainnet discount code that we put out about a month ago for the launch. It gets you $40. It's about 10% off each device that you order. So you can go ahead and do that with the buy now, pay later options. You can pay less than $100 a month per device. The affiliate program that Andy mentioned, we have spun up the first 3 or 4 affiliates, people that have sold helium devices or sold other stuff, e-commerce. And these, one thing I think you'll learn about our team and about our project is like, we don't like hype people. Every single affiliate of ours has a device, uses the product, is hands-on. We're not, asking people to go promote Demo for the sake of it because, we're trying to grow this thing without reason. Like, we want people who are excited about what we're building to share that enthusiasm with the world. So always excited to talk with those folks. You can DM me if you're interested in that. And then if you are somebody who's, works at a different project, I've already, we're already talking about Nori here and a few other interesting projects. You can email partners@demo.zone. Or likewise, DM me and we can talk about, hey, what would interoperability with your project look like?
Fantastic. Yeah, it sounds like there's so many things going on, lots of fun ways to get involved. I can definitely think of some people who would want to get involved with that referral program myself. Um, and I just dropped the POAP form in the text channel, so if anyone is interested in a POAP proof of attendance protocol NFT, just punch in your wallet address in the form and you will get yourself a POAP to commemorate your attendance here today. I really want to make sure we get to everything while we're lucky enough to have the demo team here. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to get them in. We still got a bit more time. And if you guys have anything that you wanted to cover that we haven't already covered today, yeah, feel free.
I think we've covered a lot of ground, which is awesome, and hopefully there were some new folks in the crowd that have learned about DIMO for the first time. If you want to join our Discord server, chat.dimo.zone. We tend to use that a lot. So shop.demo.zone, chat.demo.zone. We'd love to welcome you in there. Our team is very on top of Discord. You'll find our community manager, Xiaolin, is quite welcoming. And we're really excited just to continue to grow this. There's a lot of other awesome projects that are emerging in this. People call it the TIPIN category, the DPIN category, decentralized physical infrastructure. If you're new to that space, check out the Masari report. Check out what other people are writing. Yeah, we look forward to continuing to build through the year and beyond.
Yeah, this has been amazing. I'm so intrigued, and I'm gonna have to go down the rabbit hole into the digital physical infrastructure space, because yeah, I think there's a lot of untapped potential, and I mean, you guys are clearly tapping into that. So yeah, that's great. And yeah, I want to encourage everyone again. I'll drop the links again, the social links. So we got the DIMO Zone website, the Twitter. Make sure you follow them. This is without a shadow of a doubt one of the most innovative projects leveraging Polygon. So you really want to follow them. You really want to stay up to date with everything they're doing. Get in that Discord server. Don't sleep on DIMO. And yeah, I don't see. Swim is wondering, will hardwares ever need to be upgraded? I guess, do you guys have any plans to release like improved versions of hardware as time goes on?
There are
improved versions of the hardware, and the reason we chose the platform and are so excited about working with AutoPi to start is that it's really easy for us to push out over-the-air updates to the devices. And in the last month, I think we've done 3 OTA updates, or maybe a little bit more than a month. But it makes it super easy for us to add new functionality to them. And so the device that is being sold now is going to constantly get better, whether that's more data from the car, more features. And that's something that we've got a ton of stuff in the backlog on. And then over time, there's going to be more accessories and things you can add to your device to do with it. And so one clear example is today it's already possible to add a screen and a camera to your device, which will allow you to do things. You can run a Nintendo 64 emulator on your AutoPi device and have a screen attached to it and play some video games in your car if you want, or have a screen that shows you the data from your vehicle. And it also is Wi-Fi hotspot, and we have a couple of those active today and some early beta users. But in the future, you'll be able to sign up for a subscription if you want to have a Wi-Fi network inside of your car that uses the connectivity from your device. That's possible as well. So we're working on some cool stuff as far as upgrading the hardware goes, and then obviously next generation hardware. Yeah, Super Nintendo also possible. Yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff that already exists for the Raspberry Pi. We use the CM4, which is like kind of the industrialized version of that device. So if you see anything out there, like any cool Raspberry Pi projects, there's a pretty good chance that we can make it happen with the hardware device as it exists today.
Fantastic. I'm so excited. This has been unreal. We are running a bit up on time, so I do think it's a good time to end things off here. Once again, all the links are in the chat, so if you have any questions that pop into your mind after the AMA, you know where to go and contact the DIMO team and get involved. And so yeah, big thanks again to everyone for coming out today.
Thank you.
Making this AMA such a success, being so engaged, asking phenomenal questions. And yeah, once again, big shout out to the Andy and Alex from the DIMO team for coming out and speaking with us. This is a really enlightening session, to be honest. I love this, so thank you again.
Later, guys.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks again.